Professor, thank you for joining us today. If you could tell us a bit about yourself and the institute, and how did you come to? Why are you here today?
I was there to chair a session on European energy policy because I did specialize in European energy policy since 5 years, and I am the holder of a chair named Loyola de Palacio, after the name of the former Vice President of the European Commission. And my job is to study, to participate to debates regarding European energy policy.
And while chairing this session, and through your expertise, have you seen the energy policy change, I guess, over the years that you have been working on this topic? And you have already chaired, or you will chair this afternoon? It was this morning. Okay, so tell us a bit about what the session was like and what was the main takeaways for yourself, maybe.
Okay. The session did touch two very hot issues with European energy policy, one being energy prices, and the other one, high-tech technology innovation. Because we clearly have two roads with energy policy. One could be to go for cheaper energy, even if this energy is dirty. And today, coal is more and more used inside Europe because coal is cheaper than gas while being 2 times more dirty. But as the price of polluting is now very low in Europe, and the European Parliament did refuse to get it higher, it's purely logical that coal is a fuel of choice today for European businessmen.
That makes me assume that you are pro a very much tighter emission trading scheme, or some kind of a more expensive pollution scheme for the polluters, so that the pollution comes down. Or what has been your point of view from your research done at the European University Institute?
Regarding pollution, inevitably somebody will pay. We can pay today, we can pay tomorrow, we can even pay through my children or grandchildren. There are political choices. Every European can choose to pay today or to let his or her kids to pay tomorrow. And today we are in a crisis, so I do understand that many Europeans think that it will be for their children, but not for them. Is it a wise decision? That's something else, but I understand the political reaction.
Usually the European institutions follow the political reaction, or you see them as pushing the politicians a bit further than they could? How do you feel about the European policy in place at the moment?
That's also a very good question. European Commission is not a block, it is made of several blocks. Regarding the energy policy, today the energy policy is trying to square a difficult triangle with prices, because obviously prices for energy are quite high in Europe, particularly if we compare to the US, but also security of supply, because Europe is not that rich with energy sources, except for renewables, but they are expensive. And then decarbonization, or being environment friendly. And to combine these 3 dimensions is extremely difficult. And each time something new appears, here or there, inside Europe or outside, this triangle is again disequilibrated. It is the case today because gas in the US is extremely cheap, 3 times cheaper than in Europe. So it's really constraining us.
So actually I was just going to ask you 2 questions. One was, what do you think of the impact of all this new energy found in America? Well, I think you kind of answered that, but even for the coming years, because I see that they want to be energy independent is, I think, the vision, and potentially the capability. It's a bit new, so it's a bit surprising. All of a sudden, the US has this whole massive reserves everywhere. But also fracking, if you have touched on that a bit. And no, I've forgotten the second question. But if the first one on how you see, like as a long-term effect on all this new energy coming out of the US for Europe, and do you look at global impact as well, or do you just focus on Europe?
If we think long-term, we also think how the industry and the science and the technology will change. If we start from today, or even tomorrow, that's good to have cheap energy because, of course, it increases your competitiveness. But if you think long-term, you can also be trapped with cheap energy because your industry, your technology, your science will not develop enough other technologies, other industry components, and then instead of innovating, you are trapped in this low price system. Regarding the US, we do not know today how far they will go in the restructuring of the whole industry to extract from this very cheap gas a competitive advantage. But what we know in Europe is that we do not have this fount of energy. Cheap gas won't be European. Cheap gas is American. Will Americans share it with us? Yes, no? To be seen. Will it be good for our European industry to go back to cheap energy? To be seen also. And will it contradict the enormous push we made to have new innovative technology with renewables or with smart grids or at large with energy efficiency? So to use less energy, this also has to be seen. But it's key for the decade or for the 15 years to come. We are absolutely sure of this.
Okay, so two last questions. One, Russia. Two, sustainable energy by 2020. We're not going to meet that target. The easy questions last.
No, Russia is not an easy question because, first of all, we should be very friendly with Russians because they are our neighbors and we have no reason of not being friendly with them. The second part is, do our economic interests spontaneously align in the energy sector? Not that much. Regarding oil, that's okay because since Tuesday we thought that we had a market-based price. It has to be seen if this investigation will show that the oil price was manipulated or not. But let's assume that the price of oil is a world price, it's a market price, we cannot change it. So our relations with Russians regarding oil are normal. When it comes to gas, it's not the case because Russia is our first supplier of gas in Europe, more than 1/3. And second, the Russian gas is mainly sold through long-term, which is many years, 10, 15, 20 years, long-term, and oil index contract. And gas is a commodity, like sugar, like cement, but it is sold in a liaison with gold. Of course, it is black gold, oil, but oil is gold. Oil is not the commodity it was in the past. It's a kind of luxury we use to burn with our cars or our planes, but it does not make sense today to align the price of gas on the price of black gold. But it is the case, and this gas today is 3 times more expensive than the average price of gas in the US, which is a big difficulty between the EU and Russia. And should Europe disindex the Russian contracts, it would be a major fight, frontal fight. Or should we go step by step in a delinkage? How to go step by step? And if the Russians do not move, will the Algerians and the Norwegians move because they are the second and the third supplier to Europe? and they are as attached to oil index as the Russians. So all of this is maybe 50 to 100 billion dollar question a year. It's enormous.
Just the sustainable energy, the parts of the 2020. Just quick.
I am old, so when I discuss sustainable targets, I mainly discuss what I will leave to my kids. And I agree that I cannot think of leaving to my kids all the unsolved problems we are facing today. I find this a bit unfair. Today we know that kids have many difficulties to find a job in half of Europe, if not 2/3 of Europe. We are also leaving them a pile of debt on the top to add, let's say, a big pollution to be cleaned up later. It's a bit unfair. So personally, I find this unfair. But I do agree that if I was, let's say, a Greek retiree, or if I was a civil servant in Portugal or in other countries, I might think that I have already enough pain to bear, given the economic and financial crisis, and that the environment could be left apart. Personally, I do not think, but I might understand that other Europeans might see it totally different from me.
Thank you very much.